there, and thanks for clicking on my video. I appreciate it so much. This is going to be a one project video, so hopefully it's not too long for you, or maybe it is hopefully long enough for you to enjoy. So I've noticed that my scrap basket here, bucket, whatever you want to call it, is getting out of hand because something I've been doing recently, in the past, I don't know, however many months, so I probably emptied this with projects in like April or so. Today's October 15th. So I've been saving these, and something I have been doing is I've been saving pieces that are, you know, close to a yard or a meter long for a project, basically. And then of course I do have some pieces that are bigger, for example. I don't know if I'll end up using those for this, but we'll see. What I plan on doing is one plushie for a local pet rescue that we have around here. It's a, they mainly rescue dogs. They do some cats and stuff, but they're really busy with dogs, of course. So I had reached out to the operator of this charity rescue, and I had said, hey, would you like an item for a silent auction? What would work better, a cat or a dog? She said, oh, definitely a dog. So I plan on making like a regular brown, you know, actual animal color one, and then also some out of my scraps. That's what I want to focus on today. I am going to use the Pom Puppies pattern by Curious Papaya. Here's a screenshot. It will also be linked below. It is the pattern that I love to use most for dogs. I make them all the time. Well, I shouldn't say all the time, but when I need to make them, I make them when they sell at my booth and stuff. And they do sell really well. People like the cute and the floppiness of them, and like the floppy legs because you crochet the legs into the rounds. I like that too. Instead of making a standard size one with all my scraps, I am going to double up the pattern. So double amount of stitches, double amount of rows for every instruction, and I want to see how big and how fun it turns out. That's what we're going to do with all these scraps. I want to get this depleted quite a bit today and see how far we get with it. I don't really have a plan for, you know, like I want to make one ear with only green, or, you know, the tail with only mustard. I don't know if I'm going to do like a blindfold thing, like close my eyes and pick one. I think that's more fun. Let's get into the video and the project. Please enjoy. In this pattern, you work basically all the pieces in a certain order so you can, you know, work the pattern nicely. You always start with the ears, and I have pulled out a scrap already. I believe this is just a scrap piece from one of the ombres I recently worked with. I have only doubled a pattern once before, and it did work out nicely. It is a bit of math involved in your head. Basically what I'm going to try to do, and I might have to kind of give up on this concept and then, you know, not start over, but like reevaluate. I plan on doing every row twice, basically doubling the stitches. If you start with 6, for example, I'm going to start with 12 and then, you know, double each row. So do the same row twice. Hopefully this works out. Time for the next yarn. I'm going to use a purple because it was just kind of hanging out of the side of the bin. I want to add in a darker color now because we have some purples and some white, so I'm going to add in some teal. Did you need a hug? My tablet was dying, so I just wrote some notes so I can follow this instead of, I forgot to grab a stitch marker. In other words, a safety pin. Safety pin is now attached. And because we have good variation, I'm going to choose blindly. Okay, this is from Bernat Blanket Patchwork, and the color Citrus Splash. It's like a pale, really ugly green. That's probably why I took it out of that skein, because the other colors were really beautiful. And then this one is just gross. Today is beautiful. I think it's 19 degrees and sunny, so I'm a little hot wearing my Fabletics pants and socks, but I could take off my socks and go barefoot, but then my toes get cold. A rule I'm going to set for myself / this project is I don't want to have too much of one color in something, so right now I'm going to snap off using these beautiful iridescent scissors I got from Temu. When I keep my scissors in the scrap bin so I don't hurt myself, I keep them in a certain corner because you don't want to reach in and then get stabbed. The next round is like all decreases. And we got part of a tangle here. This is from the ombre blue, navy, whatever it is I just used. So here's the first ear complete. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I like it. Reminds me of a Christmas ornament, like a mosaic one. Here we go for the second ear. The color I'm going to start out with is Rosemary by Bernat Blanket. Here we have a scrap of Little Sand Castles, Bernat Baby Blanket. It's amazing how much Bernat Old Formula hurts my hands while I am making amigurumi. I don't mind it so much when I'm making like a big comfy sweater. I will say it hurts my wrist more so because then you're really pulling, but like, you know, with amigurumi you're holding it tight and like it's being a jerk. So I find that my holding hand hurts the most with amigurumi and Bernat Blanket Old Formula. Something I think that would be fun and to be a very niche thing. So when I pull out a scrap here, you know, I'm saying like, oh, here's a scrap of, you know, little sand castles. I think it'd be so fun to do like a game show where, you know, somebody puts a picture or like a piece of scrap of yarn in front of somebody and they have to name the shade, like rapid fire style. Here's some purple sunset. Let's add this one in. Time for the next color. I'm gonna choose blindly. We're going back to this ombre blue scrap. Be sure to stay hydrated. If you're curious, it's just water. Nothing exciting, but I love water, so it is exciting. Time for new yarn, because I'm starting the decrease round, and you know how hard it is to put on a new strand when you're in the middle of decreases. So let's choose blindly. Okay, we have a strand of black. And when I attach a new color, I always make sure I crochet over it at least 3 times. Something that's great about using a safety pin as your stitch marker is you don't want to lose it, you just tuck it on your shirt. Now normally with this pattern we would move on to the head next, and then you crochet in the ears and the rounds, but I don't want to do the head right now because I didn't do the math before my tablet died. But I did get the math done for the tail and the legs. So I figured since I had room under the ears, so I did ears here and then tail down here, we're going to do the tail next. For the tail I'm going to start with this orange ombre, or not ombre, orange tweed. I like the tweeds in the magic ring because they do pull nicely to close the magic ring. That's always helpful. Time for the next color. This is off my one I just used. It was Bernat Baby Blanket Dappled in the color Almost Apricot. Already time for the next color. I'm going to pick this one here. This is part of the teal ombre as well. Here's how the tail looks in the end. So basically on the last, well, one of the last rows, she gets you to increase, and then we're gonna sew this, well, not sew this, sorry. We're gonna crochet this into the body once we get to that stage. I wanna see how it looks on the body. Honestly, I might remake this just because it kind of looks like a cat tail, or I could make it like longer and floppier. Had to flip over my laundry, but we're back and we're gonna start on the first leg. Gotta get the first one done here outside, but Larry's begging to go inside for his afternoon snooze on the couch. His ears flick when I say those words. So let's do the first leg and then we'll probably move it inside. Because I have to start with the magic circle, I want to use a yarn I know it's not gonna snap. There are a few in here where I'm like, ah, no, that's definitely gonna snap. Start with a strong one. This is Bernat Blanket Sparkle. This is something I keep doing. I keep forgetting to leave like a really large loop in the magic ring because I'm doubling up. I'm so used to making it like somewhat small. Time for a new yarn. And choose blindly. Okay, we have a scrap of an off shade that I've had forever. Time for another yarn. That small piece there just got me about 1.5 rows. Already time for the next yarn. There's another off shade I have. It's like a jade color. That got me about 30 stitches, so let's pick the next one. This is a scrap from a cake I had deconstructed. Time for the next round, or next color. This one's staring at me right here. It's half flopped out. This is a significantly larger piece, so I think I'm just going to set that aside for now. So I might save some of these larger pieces for the body, because obviously the body's a lot bigger than the legs. And I think the legs stand out more, obviously, on this pattern than like the body does. This is a super teeny tiny piece, but we're going to use it anyway. I think a lighter color would look nice next. Time for the next one. This is the color gold. We are partially done with the first leg, but I think we're going to move it inside. The sun is getting pretty hot. Now that Larry is situated and I'm situated, we're going to continue with the first leg. Now the scraps are on my other side, so that's going to get some getting used to. Okay, this is the same as that middle one there. The cake I deconstructed. Next color coming up. This is a color I got at an outlet store. So I believe it was one of the colors of the Bernat Blanket tie-dye-ish that never went forward into production because it's the same style. It is pretty though. I do wish it went into production because it works really nicely for companion animals, dogs, cats, etc. I'm now starting the decreases. So not the full decrease row, but you know, every other decrease. That being said, there already was one decrease row right around here. In the pattern, it tells you not to fold in half and single crochet across, but I always do, because when you crochet them into the round after doing that, I find them like more dangly and floppy. But if you don't do that last row of singles, I find it's more, I don't know, taut to the body and they just stick out too much. So that's just the way I prefer it. So that's the first leg finished. It's crazy to think about how big it is. I'm gonna measure it. And don't worry, I've already like quadruple checked my math. Okay, so the total length of this is 9 inches, which does work out because they're usually about, I'd say 4.5 inches. So There's the first little leg. Well, not little leg. Here's the first big leg. And the legs do say to lightly stuff or completely stuff. I don't remember, but I never do because I like the floppiness of them. Although with these being bigger, maybe I should stuff a little bit. Maybe I'll only stuff the back like 2 legs. So 2 unstuffed, 2 stuffed. I never really thought that part through. I ended up doing the second leg off camera while I was uploading all the videos that I've already filmed here, all these clips, onto my Google Drive on my phone. I film on my phone. Second leg, first leg we did together. It's funny, like, if you use, you know, so much more old formula, how much bigger it does look, but it's the same amount of rows, same amount of stitches. So we're gonna move on to the third leg. Here we have another scrap of the color. I want to say this is rosemary, but I don't think it is. Rosemary's a bit darker. We've already used rosemary. So this is, I think this might be spring grass, also burnap blanket. I'm choosing to snip off this color because we have 4 rows with it. And I will blindly choose the next one. I think those are too similar, so I'm going to choose a different one. Strand of black. The black is now finished. It got me about 30 stitches. I'm curious to see how the strand of pitter patter looks next to black. I like it next to the black. That looks really good. Something I actually have always wanted to do is to do a sweater striped with black in this pitter patter color. It's like a pastel baby rainbow. I think it would look awesome. My husband says there's too much contrast in it, but what does he know? I'm gonna add in a darker color again, so I'm just gonna choose one. This is a scrap of the color Lagoon. Lagoon is now added, so let's pick another one. Oh, I grabbed Lagoon again, put that back. Here's the color Red Ribbon. That's burnap baby blanket as well. It's a little weird to put the two like watercolors together, but that's what a scrap project is all about. Doing obscure things. Everything's starting to get really tangled. So I'm just gonna grab what's next to me, which is more pitter patter. So I ended up stuffing the third leg, and I don't know, I do like it. I usually don't stuff the legs, but I thought maybe for this larger plushie maybe be best. I don't know. I'm gonna make the fourth leg and then reevaluate because I might open up the first and second leg and then stuff it. Or maybe, as I said earlier, 2 unstuffed and 2 stuffed. Although it's amazing, once you stuff it, it kind of like puffs out a bit, like it's wider, and then it doesn't look as long. But it's the same amount of rows, everything. Right now I'm going to stop a little bit just because I've created a bit of a tangle. So I just want to kind of, you know, make that a little bit nicer for myself within the next few minutes here, or for the next few minutes here. Then we'll continue. For leg number 4, we're back outside. I don't know how long we're gonna last because it got significantly colder out. A few seconds ago I was saying, well, I mean, a few hours ago for me, but a few seconds for you, I was saying, oh, it's so hot in the sun, I want to go inside. But now the sun has moved to the other side of the house, so now we're in the shade in the backyard, and it makes a big difference. But it's better than having the sun directly in your eyes. I think we've only started one of the legs with a lighter color, so let's do that again. Not saying these legs will be side by side or anything, but it's just a thought in my head to start off. I think the starting yarn is what's tripping me up the most. It doesn't need to trip me up by any means. Let go. Ready? You're going. I'm choosing to snip off this yarn because there's quite a bit. I'm gonna go for red ribbon again. When I was making the second leg off camera, it went really fast because I found myself, you know, just quickly blindly picking a yarn and not losing my number count. But when I'm doing this right here and updating over time, I keep losing my number count, so I'm like, I have no idea where I am. But I do have my stitch marker in there, so that does help after counting the rows and stuff. Steve, the husband, has told me before that my resting crochet face looks really worried, and I was like, nah, it can't be that bad. So I did film myself crocheting one day, just at my computer, and he was right. I look like so worried when I'm counting, but that's probably because I am worried about losing my stitches and stitch count. But I promise I'm not worried, and I'm not like sad. Like he'll walk in and be like, are you okay? What's wrong? I'm like, nothing, I'm just crocheting. So I'm curious, do you have a resting crochet face? Let me know. I would love to know. Middle of October, it seems to be the time of year where the weather's different every hour. I mean, that's typical in Canada. It's funny because like you start the day and you're like, oh, it's cold, but then mid-morning it gets pretty warm. So you turn off the furnace and you open the patio door to get some fresh air in the house, and then 2 hours later, like we experienced today, you shut the patio door and you turn the furnace back on. Like there's no in between right now. Time for another color. I'm gonna blindly choose this time. Okay, this looks to be, I think it's part of the ombre as well, because it's not really a solid color. It's like a, like a faded color. My hands are cold. The safety pin doesn't want to close. I'm choosing to snip off this yarn because, again, there's quite a bit. Blindly choose the next one. Oh, we have a mustard. Okay. I had to pause and go get my stuffing. Because I like the legs to be floppy on the plushie, I'm only like partially stuffing. That's leg number 4 finished up. We are back for day 2 of working on this charity puppy. It was a little silly of me to think that I could get done one day. Steve actually was home from work early yesterday. He has a cold and hopefully he won't give to me. Off camera, I did decide to stuff all 4 of the legs, mainly because of the size of this puppy and like how big it's going to be. I think the legs needed to be stuffed. I am going to keep the ears unstuffed, however, because I do want them to flop down and stick out, like I said. So today we're going to do the head. I think that's all I'm going to do on this project today, just because it's going to get up to, I think, 60 stitches for the largest round. So yay. It's going to be a bit difficult. I do fear that for this project I'm not going to have enough scraps for everything, because we used quite a bit yesterday with the legs and the ears. So here's what I have. So let's see how much we use for the head. I might have to make some scraps with things that are still in my office. So I did the math this morning while my brain was still braining. I'm going to use the beginning tail to kind of close up the magic circle a bit, because this magic circle was so large. And I figured might as well do it now after the 3rd round rather than, after the 10th round. So now time for a new color. I'm going to choose blindly. Okay, we're going with a white. Be interesting to see if this gets me one whole row. Nope, didn't get a whole row. Nope, the next one I pull is another white. Well, actually it's a cream, but I don't want to put those 2 together. Here's a teal, super small, but that's okay. Now at the point where I need to join an ear. Time for a new yarn. Nice teal color. Pretty sure we used this one yesterday. Oh yeah, we did. It's right here in the ear. Second ear is being joined. I'm going to continue off camera for a bit just because I have a bunch of rows coming up that are very similar and I need to keep my concentration. We've now moved outside because it's nice out right now, but it'll probably be too hot in a few minutes. So here's how it's looking. I'm at the largest part of the head now, so it's nice. It actually kind of looks like a hat. Yeah, fits pretty good. How do I look? Do I look cute? Larry hates wearing anything. Okay, so since I last checked in, I added like a creamy pink there. That's from something I had, you know, torn apart like a cake. And then I added some wispy white of the Bernat blanket tie-dye-ish. It's like a white and a tan. I just finished a sweater with it. And then this gray here is the color Silver Steel. Has some variegated in it. Buttercup yellow, Bernat baby blanket. Also around here, there was like a small piece of white. And I think that's it. So we are continuing on. We are going on to round 14 out of 25. I just added in 2 pieces of white / cream. I think it's more white. And then a variegated pink and red that I recently got through an estate sale. So it's a dollar store yarn. And then this orange here was from that beautiful harvest cardigan I made in September. And then now I'm adding in Gathering Moss. I'm now starting the decrease rows, which is exciting. I think it looks so cool right now. I mean, a hat like this would be really cute. Maybe I should make some hats like this. When I wear hats, I like to have the sun visor part of it. This is a hat I had thrifted. It says, "I'll bring the bail money." I'm assuming it was probably from like a bachelorette party and somebody donated it after, but I thrifted it. Here's how the head is looking. So I added the Gathering Moss shade, as I said, and then this old formula. I'm pretty sure I got this when I first started working at Spin Right. It was from an old Ogo that I, kind of took apart and, used the colors for different things. So I've had this probably like 5 years. So it's nice to use it up. But I want to weigh the head just to see how big or like how heavy it is before we add the stuffing. And of course, I do have to do one more row of decreases, but that shouldn't add too many grams. So I have my bucket here. The bucket does weigh 340 grams if you're curious, but I'm going to press tear, and that resets it to 0. Add this in. Okay, the head of the pup without stuffing is 225 grams. So that's significantly large. So 225 without stuffing. Speaking of stuffing, this is what I use. I just get these discount pillows from Walmart. They're $5.47. So this is a brand new one. So I want to use this specifically, and this is why I bought it, to use on this puppy, because I want to see how much of this pillow this puppy will use. So I want to weigh this pillow. Okay, so we have our scale at 0, and right now the pillow is 613 grams. Okay, so our head without is 225 grams of yarn, and then the pillow is 613 grams. And here's where I'm going to start stuffing the head. I do want the bottom of the head to still be like a little bit flat when I do the last decrease row. This kind of works out nice actually, because this head's getting heavy to work on, like with just my arms, so this table will be nice support. I feel safe removing my stitch marker now completely, because basically I'm just going to decrease these until I feel I can sew it shut nicely. I really like the way it's looking. The head especially looks really cool. It's nice once you get to like those really large rounds, because then it looks like you're color changing every row. Obviously I wasn't, I was just changing whenever the yarn ran out. I'm feeling pretty secure with it, like just that small hole there. In case you're wondering what this is on my finger, this is a yarn guide. I just cannot get the yarn to wrap around my fingers nicely to keep crocheting with it, so I have to use one of these. I always have when I've crocheted. I just can't do it without. Hopefully this old formula will not break this plastic needle. I did find some long weaving needles on Etsy. I'm actually going to place that order this afternoon once I start my computer again. And they're, I don't know if I said they're metal, but they're metal. And they're longer, which is nice. I'd rather order those from Etsy because it's somebody who makes them specifically for, weaving and other hobbies, but they would work well for this because they're a larger eye, they say. I also ordered some off of Temu just to see the quality. Sometimes they'll say You know, they're a certain size, but then they're so much smaller in person. I probably will still order the others from Etsy because, one, I want to support somebody small and, you know, like handmade and stuff. And also, it's nice to have extra, you know, for different parts of the house. I don't do a lot of weaving in ends upstairs in the bedroom just because I really only work on sweaters up there right now. And like if I do finish some, you know, plushies or plushie parts or anything, I just save the weaving in the ends for the next day if needed. So here we have the head. Oh, that's so cute. I love it so much. I really like the way it looks. And yeah, it turned out good with all these scrappy bits. So that is awesome. That's how the ears look. Nice and floppy. So next up we should do the muzzle on the face here. I had tried to make the puppies before without a muzzle and they don't really look like puppies in the end if you don't put the muzzle on. I am a little afraid to do like a chain situation with like a smaller scrap just because you have to change out obviously like the arm when it runs out. So I have a larger scrap in my bin there. I'm going to start with that for that reason. I've already done the math on the muzzle as well. I'm going to take a break from crocheting, give my wrist a break and stuff. I'm going to do some video editing on my computer while Larry's in for his nap. Hello and welcome to day 3 of working on the charity puppy. I took a break from this project just because we were away for the weekend. It's the weekend where we had the hockey game and like the baby shower for Steve's cousins. We're now going to work on the body of the puppy. Normally what you would do in this pattern is you would surface crochet to the back of the head and continue working out the body that way. Because I'm making this double the size, I'm not going to do that because the head is already so heavy. We already talked about that, didn't we? So what I have done is I did all the math and everything for, you know, double the rows, double the stitches, basically working from the tail, well, the butt, the tail, adding the legs, rows, legs, body, and then I'm just going to sew the body onto the head. I don't really want to do the sewing part, but it's going to be a lot easier than surface crocheting the body and then working it out from there. We're going to get started on that because I have all the math done. And hopefully we have enough scraps to complete this. I'm not sure if we will, but I can always make more scraps using full skeins from my collection. So it looks like in the body we are going to do 32 rows. So that's quite a bit. For the butt, I'm going to start in this nice gold color. This is from the Orange Crush Ombre cake that I had used for that nice harvest cardigan I made. Also, I want to apologize to you all about the loudness of the outside clips from last week. I didn't realize that my phone would pick up every little bit of wind and basically everything that was outside. Usually it doesn't do it that much, and it wasn't really windy that day. I don't know what it was. It was just, I don't know, extra feedback from the outside world and nature. But lucky for you, the next few days here are going to be rainy, so we will be inside. Today's a bit sunny, but it's freezing cold outside. It's probably like 7 degrees Celsius, and I'm not sitting outside in that and having my fingers freeze. I'm now going to add in the tail that we made last week. Remember, I had said that I'm not sure if it's, you know, long enough just because of doubling up and everything. And of course, yes, I did double the tail. But I'm curious to see how it's going to look in the end. Right now, I feel like it looks pretty good because of how tall I did make it. I don't really remember what the pattern says, but the tail is the only one that I don't single crochet closed in the end, just because I want it to remain erect like that when it's on the puppy dog. I am choosing to snip off this mustard yarn because we do have a little bit left, but I don't want it to be too much within the project right now. We'll blindly choose the next. Okay, we have I think this is this is spring grass again. So the nice green color. Next yarn. The smaller strand of an off shade. Matches my dress pretty well. I did not get us very far, but that's okay. That's the point of saving those small scraps. Well, we have a tangle here. This is Bernat Blanket tie-dye-ish in the color lavender. It's fresh in my mind because I just bought the skein the other day. And I didn't have the patience to untangle it at the time when I was winding up the cake. So I just threw it in the bucket. Okay, untangled. And all in one piece, so that's nice. Here's the tail, and here is how the butt is shaped. I am about to add the back legs in. In the original pattern, of course, it does say how many stitches in between. I didn't really write down like how many. Of course, I would double it. But that being said, when I do make this pattern, I usually just, you know, kind of play it by ear or do what I want. Just because I think in the original pattern it's just a few stitches, and I like when the puppy, when he's done, you can like sploot and like have all his legs like out rather than, you know, just underneath him, if that makes any sense. So let's add in the first leg. I think we'll go for this one. After this, it'll get a bit tricky because he's gonna be flopping everywhere. First leg is now attached. Here's the tail, then the leg. I find this part really tricky. So the tail is now at the bottom there. Here's the other leg. So here I need to gauge where I want to put in the other leg. Do I want it, you know, in like 2 or 3 stitches from here, or do I want it at the stitch that I'm at? I usually end up adjusting it a few times just so I'm satisfied with it. But we are about to run out of this purple yarn, so I'm just going to change the color now rather than doing it halfway through joining the leg. And I'm going to choose it to be a color that we don't have on the body yet and is an older formula, just so it's a bit more sturdy than the newer formula when attaching this heavy leg. I'm sure the new formula would be fine, but that's just where my brain is at right now. I feel like the leg placement is pretty good. So here's the tail right in front of my face, and then we have the 2 dangly legs. So I don't think I'm going to adjust it this time. That's not saying that I won't adjust it in a few minutes and like undo a row or 2, but we're at least gonna give it a try and trust the process. I have a hard time trusting the process sometimes, but I feel like every crocheter has that issue, or any crafty or hobbyist may have that issue. Just because sometimes it just looks so wonky and you're like, are you sure? Are you sure? You're not sure? You know, you don't want to get too far into the project and then not like the end result. Okay, so here's a look about how it is going. It's really cute. It's such a cute butt. It's such a cute butt color. So basically I'm going to update you in a bit when I have all those 9 rows finished, and then I'll show you exactly what I added in yarn-wise. Okay, I moved in front of the window so you can actually see the colors. So I added a red, and then like a teal. There's a scrap, I think, from one of the ombres I just did. And then a strip of Easter egg, pale pink. I don't know what that's from. And then the color Seaside, which is like that teal variegated. And then a purple from an old Ogo. This light green here was from Bernat Blanket Patchwork. Then this, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe this is Seaside, I don't know, whatever. But Bernat Baby Blanket of an ombre skein that I had torn apart because I don't like that color, so I figured I'd just use the color in this. So cute. Here's the bum, tail, legs. So I have started some decreases, and then I think in 2 rows from now I have to add in the front legs, and then, you know, start decreasing even further, and then we'll be done the body. I should be able to get this done today. I'm gonna take a break from crocheting for a few minutes and, you know, clean up the kitchen a bit and do adult things, because I had to pick up Larry the dog from daycare this afternoon. So I want to get the things done that I need to get done while he's not here. I have about 1 hour until my mother-in-law is coming over to pick up some things. Might as well do some crocheting in the meantime. Picking blindly. Okay, this is the color Lagoon. Such a beautiful color. When they were developing these watercolors at Spinrite, they had sat in the product development office for about a year. And then eventually I was like, are you guys doing anything with those? You know, because somebody would love to use them for some charity work. And they were like, okay, let me call down to the boss man, or no, boss lady, I guess. And they were like, yeah, she can have them, no problem. They've been sitting there long enough, and, you know, only a few of the colors were going forward. Lagoon being one of them, like this color I'm working with here, Lagoon. And then, like, you know, the ones that I'm talking about, like these watercolor looking ones. I think there's one called like Sunset. I might be wrong about that. I don't remember. Red Ribbon was one of them. I know there's a few others, but they're not coming to my brain right now. But I was so excited when they said yes, because in that box, I think there was 24 different colors. And I don't know how many of them ended up going to production, but every single one of them was beautiful. think there was only one I didn't like, just because the colors didn't mend well or mesh well together, and that one didn't go to production. I wasn't surprised, but I wish they would let me choose, of all the people, you know, the receptionist, what colors went to production, but I like the choices they made in the end. I probably would have picked the same ones anyway. It's getting hard to work on, just because, you know, it's so long now, and the legs are flopping around, and this and that. I've taken a break from it mainly because, not shoulder pain, but like, you know, you feel it in your shoulders, because, you know, you're going like this, but even though you shouldn't be, and I do have that assistant pillow. It's on the floor right now, but I don't find it very effective for the couch, or like when I reclined like this on my couch. But, you know, if I'm sitting straight and I'm like in the corner of the couch, then I find it handy. Most of the time Larry has it stolen and he sleeps on it on the couch in the afternoons, so I never end up using it anyway. And then in the evening when Steve comes home, he lays on that side of the couch. You know, him and Larry fight over that spot over there, and then Steve steals it for his head. I'm like, oh, the one person that, you know, bought it for herself doesn't get to use it, but that's okay. At least they're enjoying it. I have been crossing out my rows with my pen because I got sick of counting like all the rows here every time. So I just started using the pen, actually being smart about it. I'm hoping that this is a good video for you guys to crochet along to. That was kind of my thought initially. I was like, you know, I'm going to do a video that would be good to like put on the TV. I don't know how long this video is going to be in the end. I've edited everything that I have so far except for today, like the clips from today. And I thought, you know what, it's a fun one to crochet along to, hopefully anyway. So if you guys want to let me know, I would appreciate it. Because I'd like to do more videos like this. You know, just kind of talking through the project. So I'm going to do blindly again. Okay, this kind of matches, so that's okay. Although I do have to add the legs, on the front legs on this round. So I'm going to put this back because this was like a newer formula. And I just like the strength of the older when I'm connecting legs. Here's a purple, and that's something I dropped, so I'm just going to pick a different one. As I'm not going to get up and grab it. Here's a piece of white, or like a cream color. I got this recently in an estate sale. A purple would have been nice next to the lagoon, but I'm not getting up and getting it. It's all the way across the room. So when I add in the front leg, so here's the back leg, I do try to keep it pretty in line with the front leg. So usually I do the front legs first and then I move towards the butt on a regular size puppy. Sometimes I do consider like putting him up a little bit higher, just in case I do like a sitting puppy instead of laying down puppy. I still haven't decided if I want to do sitting down or like laying flat puppy. I'm not sure yet. But I think I'm just going to keep the legs in line with each other, and then I don't have to worry about that. So here's one of the remaining legs. If anyone has some ideas for upcoming videos for me to do, I would appreciate that. I was hoping I would find a corporate job by now, but no such luck. I've had a few interviews lately, but again, no such luck. It's just competitive in our area right now because so many of us lost our jobs at Spin Right. So I think that, you know, is a bit of a detriment. The one job I really did want, they had said, oh, you're second in line. If it doesn't work out, we'll give you a call. So I was kind of hoping it wouldn't work out with the other person. No offense to them, but it's a job I really did want. It was a reception job at a busy car dealership. So if you guys have any ideas for videos, I would appreciate that. I probably will do a pattern roundup soon, like an Instagram, like free Instagram pattern roundup. Or maybe like some paid pattern roundups. I don't know yet. But I thought that'd be fun. And then since I'm winding down with plushies at the market, I think anyway, not exactly sure the plan there because I thought I'd have a job by now. Maybe I will take plushies to the market more like into the winter and just pay for 2 spots at the market and pay $170 instead of $85. I would pay like for a double spot. So I could have sweaters on one booth, like 10 by 10, and then the plushies on the table on the other side. That's my thought about that. I just don't know going to do it just yet. I was talking to the camera and I forgot to add the second leg, so I gotta frog a few stitches. I can't talk and film at the same time. Or sorry, I can't talk and crochet at the same time, see what I mean? So let's try that again. Here's the last leg. My mother-in-law is getting back into crocheting, as I talked about recently. She does a lot of quilting and applique in the winter, But in summer, she just wants something for in front of the TV and that wasn't too hot to work on. So she's been using acrylic yarn and making little plushies. She just started an elephant. She was like, I had to go to Walmart and get like purple yarn. And I was like, you could have came to my house. I have lots of yarn. She's like, I'm not going to take your stuff. I was like, oh, that's sweet of you to say, but I don't mind. I have lots. So she's coming over this afternoon in an hour or so because she texted me last night and said, are these good for safety eyes? Are these safety eyes? Is that what they're talking about? And I said, don't buy any. I have hundreds. And she's like, well, I need a certain size. I was like, you really don't. Like the pattern she's following called for 12 millimeter. And I was like, I have 14 millimeter, 2 millimeter difference. It's not going to make a difference in your little animal. So she's going to come and get those this afternoon. And I'll see if she wants any other yarn. I think she likes working with the acrylic worsted. She doesn't really work with bulky yarn. So that kind of works out for me because I like the bulky yarn the most. Okay, so now all 4 legs are on the little scrappy puppy. It's so cute. There's the tail at the back. I'm at my stitch marker again. Time for another yarn. Looks like we will have enough scraps to finish the puppy. Let me show you the scrap bin actually. So we still have a good amount left, but definitely a lot less. It's no longer overflowing. I do want to make sure this one gets into the puppy somewhere, so I'm going to use this. Such a fun color. This was from the Bernat Blanket Patchwork cake that I deconstructed. I love the Bernat Blanket Patchwork. If you haven't felt it, like I think Michael's carries it. So if you haven't gone to the store to feel that yarn, definitely do. It's one of the newer formulas of Bernat Blanket, and it is, all of them are so incredibly soft and beautiful. I cannot say that about the Bernat Blanket all-in-one granny square yarn that they have at Michael's now. That yarn sucks. That is the old formula. And I don't like the way that the colors are joined together. They are spliced together, which basically means they took sewing thread and they just kind of like sewed the ends together, and it's very visible. The product experts, that's been right. When they first released it, I was still there because this was last year when they were working on it. I'm like, don't do this. And they're like, oh, it's not noticeable once it's worked into the granny square. And like, sure, it isn't really. I agree with them on that. But if I bought that skein for $16, I would be upset. When they did that yarn, like the all-in-one granny square yarn, I can understand that everything has to be, precise to get like all the rows correct. But in that case, they should have just spray dyed it. So the Bernat Blanket Patchwork, that stuff is spray dyed. So basically it goes through like the big dye machines, and then every so often, like however many lengths, like yardage of yarn goes by, then a new sprayer nozzle comes out and like it sprays on the color. So Bernat Blanket Patchwork is done that way, and the color transitions are pretty good. I've seen a few skeins of mine now. I think 2 out of the 20 that I have had like one blotch on it. So like if you make a sweater or blanket out of it, that blotch is like shown there. And like, yeah, you could cut it out, but that's not like point. So basically I think that one little spot must have just like accidentally dipped into the water again with all the dye. There's your knowledge for today. My friend Lori always says, oh, I feel you're so knowledgeable, and then I get to benefit from your knowledge. So I appreciate her when she says that. And at work, when I had my job, I was always very curious, and I would ask, about things and, how things worked. And I really wanted to work in the product development department. That'd be like the dream job, I think, for all of us. But I couldn't get the job because of my color blindness. I did try, but on the color scale, you had to get 100% correct. And I could not get there. I think I got better than I thought I would. I think I got like 76%, maybe 67, something like that. I figured I'd get like 20%, but did better than I thought. And honestly, it was a very difficult color test. Like, it's like standardized and stuff. And then I had asked my other coworker, I was like, can you do this test? Because like, it wasn't like secret or anything. And I said, can you do this test and let me know what you get? And like my coworker had only got, I think, like 89%. And she had said, that's really difficult because of all the, shades and stuff they put on it. You had to identify the shade exactly with the color slider they gave you. Like on the interwebs. No, I don't think I could ever get 100% on that. And we were on like a time crunch to do it when you're applying for that job, so they know you're not cheating or anything. You're asking your friend to do it for you. If only. There was no secret like around work that I'm colorblind, because I would ask, for help with stuff, stuff and things. I have one more row to go in the body here, but I'm going to snip off this yarn. Because I'm sewing the body to the head, I want the yarn to be really sturdy, so I'm going to switch to an older formula. I was able to get some of this into the body. I love this color. It's so fun. I was saying to the product development girl, I had said, you know, you do all these blanket patchwork shades and stuff. I was like, release that as a solid because Bernat Blanket doesn't have enough solids. You know, either in fun colors or browns or, like, sure, they have lots of gray and almond and tan and beige, but ugh, who wants to work with those? Well, some people, I guess, but not me. I do have an older formula left in here. I have a sparkle gray, and then I also have this purple. I do also have Teal Dream, so I think I'm going to use this. That'll look really nice. I am nervous about sewing the head to the body. I hate sewing things on because I find they always turn out lopsided and I have to do it 10 times over. Even though I do take my time and I use amigurumi sticks. Well, technically not those, but I use knitting needles. Like aluminum ones, so they're pretty sturdy. Last stitch is done. So I'm going to leave a very long tail for the sewing portion here. I do have a good size of the teal waves left, so it's nice to have the extra excess. I'm gonna tuck the tail inside the body for a minute. So here's how the body looks. Oh, it's so cute. Love the big scrappy. I love this. I love this. This is so fun. It's gonna take a lot to stuff this guy. Just see how big he is. So something we still have to do is the muzzle for the front of the face. When I make the pattern, like a regular size puppy, I always take off one of the increase rows on the muzzle just because I find it too big, and then like sure it's supposed to be that big because it's meant to like stick out more, but I don't really like it. So I usually take off one row of the increase and I think one row of like length. I don't remember how many are usually on it. I just wrote down instructions for the muzzle we're doing today. For the muzzle, you know, the head was so scrappy. I'm curious. I'm thinking I might actually do the muzzle in a solid color or like a solid scrap. So there's a good size of this one here. It's like a rainbow that I got from Temu. And I am tempted to use this one because it is a thicker yarn. Therefore, because you start the muzzle with a chain and, you know, work around the chain, etc. So I'm thinking that this one might be good because nothing will really show through because it's so dense and so thick. So this is thicker than Bernat Blanket, even thicker than the old formula. It's more of like a flat blanket yarn, but it is nice to work with. Can't work with it for too long though. Like I can only do like one mini kitty out of this per day, and then I have to go back to like normal stuff. So I think we're gonna do the muzzle now while we have time. First, I'm going to try an 8mm hook with this yarn for the muzzle, just because I think the 7 might be too small to even like get to the yarn. Muzzle is now finished. I did end up skipping the last increase row. I did do it and then I took it out just because I didn't like the way it looked. It was too big on the head. So here's the head. Then the muzzle will go, you kind of have to like squish it a bit. The muzzle will go right here. And then I'm going to embroider the eyes on this one. Just because, since it's for a local dog rescue, I'm assuming the person that ends up getting it will have a dog. And just in case they get a hold of this, hopefully not. Or maybe hopefully if they are gentle, they can play with it. But I don't want to put plastic eyes in for that reason. So this is the front of the head because the ears are closer together. Pretty sure anyway. If not, whatever, it's fine. So put the muzzle in here. And because this muzzle is so colorful, that kind of makes me determined to make this a sitting puppy. So he's going to sit on his bum and have his legs outwards. Kind of like a teddy bear, you know what I'm saying? Might do that because I don't want like his face and like this muzzle to be like, you know, when somebody takes a picture of it for like silent auction for the dog rescue, I don't want it to be, you know, this to be like the main focus and that's all they see. So if he's sitting up and they take a picture of him sitting, they'll see the whole body is scrappy. Otherwise, his body would be right behind the head and they wouldn't see that all of him is scrappy if they only post like one photo, for example. I think I'll do that. And that gives me a course of action for the next few minutes. So I'm going to sew the muzzle on now. I still have to stuff the body and everything, so I'm not going to get that done exactly right now, but I would like to get that done today. That'd be nice. It's going to depend if I have enough stuffing, because I had recently purchased like 4 new Walmart pillows that I use for the stuffing, but you know, they go so fast when you work so often with crochet and like little plushies. I'm hoping this crazy dense yarn does not break my plastic needle. I do have some metal weaving needles, as I said, coming in from Temu, but nothing yet. And this is the biggest plastic needle I actually have right now. I've had so many of them snap on me lately. It was driving me crazy, so I knew I had to order some more of those, or some of the metal weaving ones. I haven't placed that order on Etsy yet, like I said I was going to. I still want to, just, you know, budget this week's a little tight. So I couldn't go to the market because of the hockey game. But that's okay, it was worth it. Because I only have about 6 stitches left to sew in. I think, honestly, what I'm going to do for the muzzle, I'm not going to use stuffing. I'm just going to use some scrap yarn, since we have quite a bit left. So this stuff here, that's part of the muzzle. I don't really stuff the muzzle like completely full. Like, I don't want it to be too bulbous. But I want it to be, you know, enough. You can use this white stuff that we use as part of the neck, just because it's not very nice to work with. It's the stuff I got from the estate sale. It's Bernat Old Formula. It's not nice at all. And I know I could break that up a little bit. I'm not going to. Okay, that feels pretty good. It's firm, but it's not like overstuffed. Okay, the muzzle is completely on. At this point, what I usually do is I go and I look for any gaps, just to see if there, you know, possibly is any, and if there is, I just, you know, put an extra whip stitch right there. I think it looks pretty good. I did the, so the last row of the muzzle, I do back loop only, and then that's what I use to attach and like sew it on, so it's not so obvious. But I think with the Scrappy project, it really wouldn't matter if I, like, you know, attached it visibly with like black or like a neon green, but too late now, and it looks great. So the muzzle is now on, and sure, it might be a little crooked in the one corner, but honestly, it's fine. I do have to embroider the eyes on, as I said, so I probably will do that next, rather than, you know, leaving it until like the whole thing is like together and he's like super tall. So I think I will do that next. I'm now going to embroider the eyes, and usually put them like right at the edge of the muzzle. These ones, of course, ought to be much bigger because of the size of the dog. So I think I'm going to go across 3 rows. Usually I do 1 or 2. I still think it needs to be bigger, so I'm going to do 4 rows. And I could do sleepy eyes, but I want to do like regular size eyes. Never done embroidered eyes this size before. Usually after the 3rd pass through, that's when I start putting my thumb on it to like widespread the eye a bit more, and so it's not, you know, stacked on top of each strand. If you're ever looking for an eye tutorial, Awestruck Crochet has a really good eye tutorial. I'll try to find that video and link it below for you. I had people recently asking me at a market, they're like, oh my god, they're so precise and good. How'd you learn? And I was like, what? Awestruck Crochet, I used that video. I like her instruction because she does it really slowly and she explains everything she's doing. Instead of just, you know, pass through here, pass through there. Like, she explained every little piece of it. One more strand would be good here. When I do regular size eyes, I usually just do like a really long strand, and then I do the second one with the same strand, but because these are so large, I'm going to feed this strand through, and then we'll tie it off in a bit. Okay, so that's the first eye. Well, the black part. I still will add the white detailing. I think they look pretty good. I'm going to add the white eye detailing. I just like that. I think it, you know, really adds character. I like to start with like the outside detailing, so I'm just going around the black piece here. And then I go over to the other eye usually. A bit difficult in this one because he's so large. I'm going to the top of this eye, and then with my needle, I'm going to go into the middle of this one over here. The hardest part about using worsted weight here is you don't want to split it with the needle coming through again. Usually I'm pretty good at not, but it does happen. I find with the eyes, slow and steady wins the race. So for example, my camera in real time right now is 9 minutes and 30 seconds on working on these eyes. Don't ever rush through it, because you will have to start over a few times, trust me. Here's how he looks with the eyes. I think he looks pretty cute. You can tell that there's a bit of a dip here with the muzzle because of the eyes now, but it's fine. So adorable, so cute. I really love this guy. It'll be so fun to see how big he is once the body is on, because the head is probably the size of my head. Like, it's large. I realized when I was editing the previous clips, or from not today but the other clips, I never said the weight of the head after we stuffed it. because remember I was going through that. And it's probably like, Melissa, you forgot the thing I said. So we're gonna weigh it right now. So with the muzzle on now and everything intact, the head now weighs 400 grams. That's crazy. So 400 grams for the head. I think I'll wait for a bit. My mother-in-law is coming soon. I want to eat my lunch. I'm back from lunch and my mother-in-law has been here and gone. She doesn't stay for long. I grabbed some worsted weight for her. I was like, please take some because I don't really use it. And she's like, are you sure? So she took a lot of the solid colors, which is fine. We are now going to stuff the puppy body because I have time before I have to get Larry for daycare. And here's the pillow. I just opened the end of it. So I guess we'll start stuffing and see how long this lasts. I know a lot of people say you should break off little chunks and then shove it in. Cool, that's fine. Thanks for your opinion. I don't care that much. I mean, sure, if it's like a small plushie that, I'm selling for like good money. Yes, absolutely. I'm not taking one big chunk and shoving it in, like I'm doing handfuls at a time. I'm not going to shove him completely full because I want to sew a lot of his body onto the head. And then like I'll add like a little bit extra as we're, partially around the sewing part. So right now I feel like that looks good. So I do have a little bit of room right here, but as I said, we'll do that in a minute. So I would say that took like 25% of the pillow. No, not too bad. It's like the size of a toddler. So large. Here's the head. Here's the head. He's going to be so big and he's so fun. Oh, I'm so excited. So I think I will do him setting up, like I said a little bit ago. I think that's going to look nicer than having him down like this. Because, yeah, sure, you can see he's striped, but, I don't want the posting photos online for silent auction and only getting a picture from the front of him. And people won't see he's completely scrappy. So I think I'm going to put him up like this. So let's get to sewing the head. I do have some time before I pick up Larry, so might as well do that right now. As I mentioned earlier, this is the hardest part for me, is sewing a piece onto another piece. Just because I find it turns out lopsided and, something as big as this, I think it would be noticeable if, there is a mistake. But all I can do is hope and pray it turns out okay. To keep the head straight, I do try to sew into the same row on the head, like with the body. So, concentrating on that. I found that to be the most helpful so far. Plushies I've sewn together, which isn't many because I hate doing this. But something this big I was not going to do in one piece. There's no way. And my shoulder would be really sore. It's a little sore right now, but it's from doing this. Just like embroidering the eyes, I find this is also a marathon, not a sprint, so never rush. Which is difficult because when I'm sewing other things together, I usually do like 4 stitches at a time, like, weaving with the needle. 1, I don't want my needle to snap. And 2, I want it to actually like look nice because of how big this guy is. What a great way to use up some scrap yarn though. And I knew that's what I wanted to do with it as I was, saving it all year. Okay, I have about 4 fingers width left. That's why I'm going to grab some more stuffing, which is on the floor right now. Steve, the husband, asked me last night. He was like, how many of these pillows do you have on the go right now? Because I took some in the car for our weekend trip. And then there's one on the kitchen table. That was the one from the car when he asked me. And I had one in my office, and then I had one here in the living room. I don't have any upstairs. I don't really work on plushies upstairs at all. And if I do, they're just like little mini kitties or, $5 items, and then I just stuff them the next day. So I had 3 pillows on the go this past weekend. Rather than carrying them room to room, because every single time that I sit down to make, a bunch of plushies on the couch here, I have to go back to my office and grab the stuffing, grab the safety eyes. So I usually remember one or the other. So if I remember the safety eyes, I forget the stuffing. If I remember the stuffing, I forget the safety eyes. So to alleviate that, now I just have to remember the safety eyes, because I keep another pillow in here. And Steve, the husband, being as sweet as he is, every time he goes to Walmart now, he buys me a pillow. Even if I don't need it, eventually I will use it, and he knows that. The starting point now, so I've gone all the way around the neck. And now I just want to stand them up and see if there's any gaps. I don't think there will be because I did do stitch by stitch. There's a small gap right here. As I'm working on this, I've been watching Disney's Haunted Mansion. My best friend and her daughter watched it over the weekend. They said, oh, it's so good, you need to watch it. So we do have Disney Plus subscription, so I've been watching that. It's pretty good. I think I'm only like half hour into it, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not one for scary movies. I love Halloween. It's my favorite time of the year. I like cutesy scary. So I watch Halloween Town, I usually watch Beetlejuice on Halloween night. I usually end up watching Edward Scissorhands, but it always makes me cry. So I try not to watch that one on Halloween night, maybe the night before. I'm excited to see what little kids think this year of the Halloween plushies I'm going to hand out, like little minis. Not really Halloween plushies, but plushies for Halloween, I should say. So I just want to weave in the strand a little bit. And he's done, but let's take a closer look in the other room. I can't believe how big this guy is. Let me get a comparison. I cannot believe how big this guy is. He's like a toddler size. I'm gonna weigh him in a second here. So here's the regular size pom puppy, also with a 7mm hook. This guy's definitely bigger, obviously. I mean, I feel like he's more than twice the size. Maybe the math did come out wrong, but honestly it's fine because I want to use as much scraps as possible. So here's the difference in size. It's crazy. Wow. This one is going to my sister. She ordered it for a gift for Christmas. But wow, I'm so pleased with him. He looks so good. I mean, of course I would be tempted to keep him for myself, but where am I going to keep something this big? And I want him to bring in some money for the puppy rescue or dog rescue, whatever. Wow, I just see so big. And I won't be working on anything heavy for the rest of the week because it wasn't hard on my shoulder. It was just a lot of muscle was used. Look at all those scraps. He looks so cool because of all the scraps. So I want to measure his height because honestly he probably is the size of like a 3-year-old. So sitting here on his bum, he is 18 inches tall. That's crazy. Oh my god. This bucket weighs 340 grams, but I'm going to press tear and I'm going to do unit so we can measure by pounds. Okay, you ready for this? He is 2.4 pounds in total. I'm not that surprised just because of how big he is. And like, as I said, his height is 18 inches. Of course, a toddler would weigh more than 2.47 pounds, but oh my god, so fun. So thanks for coming along with this video. I hope it was fun for you. I wanted to do a video that was like a one project, you know, something for you to crochet along to as you watch, and not something that you have to focus on me doing, but we could crochet together type of thing. So this has been fun. I am tempted to do a regular size puppy, like the one you just seen, the little brown one, and the remaining scraps. I could do that. I'm actually going to grab that bucket so I can show you exactly what is left. Here's everything that is left over. When I'm editing this video, I'm going to put a screenshot on the other side there of the bucket that we started with. So like this bucket, but like when it was full, so we can see the difference. It's pretty cool. So I'm glad I got this finished. And I really want to use up all these scraps, so that's why I'm tempted to make another puppy dog. Smaller version, regular version, whatever you want to call it, to use up these scraps. I don't know if there would be enough for an entire puppy out of all these, but there might be. So cool. So I'm very pleased with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember that you are strong, you are beautiful, you are loved, and the world appreciates having you here.